Greetings and salutations, everybody. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be talking about the fantasy football top 10 running back rankings for the 2018 season, right? So yesterday, I put out content on the top 10 quarterbacks. If you haven't watched that and you're interested, go ahead. But otherwise, today, we're going to be talking about running backs. I know that Sunday is National Draft Day. Majority of the leagues, whether it be Yahoo, NFL.com, ESPN, whether you use a different sort of provider, they all kind of correlate to or line up to draft on Sunday, August 26th, right? I'm drafting on Sunday, so I thought, I might as well bring out all of my top 10 content as quick as I can so that all of you drafting, tomorrow, Sunday, can get a little bit of dosage of it and, get the content that you need and the advice if you're just on the edge, especially on running backs for today's episode. So anyway, let's get right into it. But before we do, again, thank you for watching. Please leave a like, comment. If you see anything, like in last episode, we had Cam Newton at number 2. I said, does anybody think that's a problem? Please comment below. Nobody commented, so I'm assuming everybody liked Cam Newton at the number 2 ranking. So anyway, let's get right into it. But again, thank you everybody for watching. So, what's up guys? How's it going? All right, so we're going to get right into it really quickly. I know you ain't got all day. Neither do I. Let's just talk about Le'Veon Bell at the number 1 spot, right? A lot of people, at least this year, are thinking, Todd Gurley at the number 1. I'm going to be a little bit safer, and I'm going to go with the guaranteed productive back, a guy that you can guarantee is going to have the opportunity, and he's been doing it for, at a consistent pace for longer than Todd Gurley has been doing it, right? Le'Veon Bell last season was the number 2 running back in fantasy, but it wasn't by that much, right? Like, Todd Gurley, the only reason he was the number 1 ranked running back was because it truly is because he only had 19 touchdowns, right? No. He had 19 touchdowns. Todd Gurley did, right? Le'Veon Bell, on the other hand, had 11, right? That much of a difference is ginormous, right? A 8 touchdown difference is 8 times 6, 48. It's a pretty big difference. So anyway, going into the season, I think that Le'Veon Bell is the safest pick at the number 1 overall. Yes, he comes out and he's slow to start, right? In the first week, he's still not in football shape. He's not ready to get hit. The team's not going to give him the ball 30 times in week 1, but they're going to start getting him into the groove. They're going to start getting him into the Le'Veon shape, right? The guy that's going to catch the ball 10 times out of the backfield, or at least get targeted 10 times. The guy that's going to carry the ball 20 times a game, and the guy that's going to carry your fantasy team, So, the way I see it, last season, Todd Gurley specifically, right? The comparison between Todd Gurley and Le'Veon Bell, that's mainly what this whole number 1, number 2 argument is going to be for many of us, right? Especially if you have a number 1 or number 2 pick. Le'Veon Bell last season had 50 more carries than Todd Gurley, and he had 21 more receptions than Todd Gurley. Now, you may be thinking, Todd Gurley had less opportunities and less receptions, and he scored more fantasy points. Therefore, Andrew, Todd Gurley, if he's given that more opportunity, is going to be even better. Well, I don't think he's going to be given that opportunity. There's a lot of mouths to feed when it comes to the Rams, and bringing in Brandon Cooks, already having to feed Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, and having a young quarterback that's a little bit inexperienced so far. I think that, yes, there is an Antonio Brown with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but Pittsburgh wants to feed Le'Veon the ball exclusively all the time. That's why they keep on franchise tagging him, right? Yes, they're not willing to pay him the money that he wants. The money he wants is a little out of control, but they're not willing to pay him, but they're willing to work him. They're willing to give him the ball 400 times a season, and that's why I have Le'Veon Bell number 1. The opportunity's there. Yes, he didn't score as much touchdowns as Todd Gurley did last year, but I think this year Todd Gurley's numbers are coming down. Therefore, Le'Veon Bell is going to be my number 1 this coming season. Okay, so let's get to the number 2, right? Obviously, we're talking about, these guys go hand in hand. You can't talk about Le'Veon Bell without talking about Todd Gurley, especially when you're coming into the draft, right? So Todd Gurley, again, I gave you a lot of reasons to why I think he's going to be a little bit behind Le'Veon Bell. But then again, there is a lot of upside to Todd Gurley. I thought about this for a little bit. I thought maybe I should just make it a number 1A, number 1B, right? Maybe not have a 1 and 2, because Todd Gurley and Le'Veon Bell, there are pros and cons to either argument, right? Todd Gurley last season had 13 games in which he had 100 or more total yards, whether it be rushing or receiving. There were games that Todd Gurley, many fantasy owners knew, especially in your playoffs, that he took over. He took over the fantasy week because he was just unstoppable, right? As I said before, he had 50 less attempts rushing than Le'Veon Bell did. He had 20 less receptions and somewhat, I think it was 19 less targets. The way I see it, Todd Gurley, yes, he was amazing last year, but I think he's going to come down to earth a little bit this year. I think that kind of excellence can't be sustained, permanently unless you're the second coming. I talked about this with Deshaun Watson yesterday. I said, if Deshaun Watson can sustain his 3 touchdown per game average, then he's the second coming and it's over, right? And we're all going to be victims to it, right? I don't think Todd Gurley's that guy. I think Todd Gurley, yes, he's a top 2 running back, especially in fantasy, especially in the NFL. But this coming season, I don't see him reposting a 19 touchdown season because, again, there's a lot of mouths to feed, and that's why I have him on my number 2, plain and simple. Anyway, so let's move on. Let's go to the number 3, David Johnson, okay? So what do we see David Johnson? David Johnson, he didn't play football last year, right? Kind of a weird thing. Broke his wrist in game 1 of the 2017 season, was out for the rest of the year. They didn't want to rush him back because they thought, this is a franchise player. Why rush him back and, somehow risk another injury occurring? So David Johnson didn't play last year, but in 2016, he was the number 1 running back in fantasy. And to be honest, he was the fantasy MVP. I've been harping about David Johnson for the last, 2 months or so, saying that David Johnson's going to be a beast this year. Now, don't get me wrong. I almost, it's so close. I think the fraction of a difference between Gurley, Le'Veon, and David Johnson, it's extremely similar. Because David Johnson has got the same amount of opportunity that a Todd Gurley, Le'Veon-esque tier 1 running back has. Because, yes, he's going to catch the ball a lot, right? He's going to have 90 targets just out of the backfield, right? He wants to get that 1,000 receiving yard, 1,000 rushing yard thing. He's a guy that has come out and publicly said, I want to be the running back that rushes for 1,000 yards and has 1,000 receiving yards on top of it, right? This is a guy that in 2016 dominated the league, dominated fantasy. He was unstoppable, averaged somewhere around 22 fantasy points per game, maybe plus. The way I see it, he's a contender for the number 1 spot. If someone in my league took David Johnson number 1, I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest, right? Because the Cardinals, they're not to be slept on, right? Having Sam Bradford, maybe even Josh Rosen, it doesn't hurt David Johnson much, right? David Johnson with a good offensive line. Yes, they lost A.Q. Shipley, the center, and they replaced Jason Valdir, who was extremely, he just kept getting hurt. I don't know how else to put it, He was injury prone for majority of his career lately, lately in the Cardinals era. Now he's with the Denver Broncos, but they've kind of reassured this offensive line. And I think David Johnson, from what I saw in preseason, he's going to come out and he's going to dominate, right? That's why I have him at number 3. I wouldn't be surprised if, of all the running backs I talk about today, David Johnson is number 1. I will not be surprised. I will not, okay? Because that's how good and talented this man is, okay? So let's move on. Because, again, we're not here to, I don't want you guys here all day. I know you guys want to just get the information, get out. Timestamps are below. All right, number 4. All right, you can see it. What am I doing? No, it's on the wrong side. Look, that's what happens when you flip your camera. You see that? You see the Dallas star over here? Ezekiel. I have Ezekiel Elliott as my number 4 running back this season, okay? Prior to the information coming out of the Dallas Cowboy organization with the difficulties of Travis Frederick's health and Zach Martin's health, I had Ezekiel Elliott at the potential number 3 running back, almost tied with David Johnson, right? Since the information came out of Travis Frederick's illness that he's been diagnosed with, being an autoimmune disease that, basically fights his own body and is deteriorating his cells and his nervous system. I mean, it's some crazy stuff, right? I think Travis Frederick's not playing this year. To be honest, his health matters more than anything, right? Because at the end of the day, he's a human being, right? And his life matters more than football does. So I don't see Travis Frederick playing this year. Zach Martin, as I spoke about in this past week's preseason standouts, he got injured in the game. A safety, while he was pulling, ran up, basically cut him at the knees. So that, that's usually what safeties and outside linebackers do, who are smaller than the pulling guard. You have to chop the tree down, right? You have to make sure that the play bounces outside. So therefore, you have to squeeze down the gap, and you have got to take on Zach Martin. How do you take on Zach Martin? You go for his knees, right? He hyperextended his right knee, if I'm not mistaken. Right or left, I'm not sure. But I know it's a hyperextension, and it's not looking great, right? Just off of all that information, Travis Frederick and Zach Martin, 2 Pro Bowl monsters, right, of this Dallas Cowboy offensive line. They're not going to be playing this year. Now, let's get to Zeke, shall we? Ezekiel Elliott is still my number 4 ranked running back because he's a stud, right? He still has Tyron Smith, still has Lyle Collins. They're going to fill up, I think, Connors, if I'm not mistaken, the rookie left guard. He's been okay throughout the preseason, but they're going to have to fill that right guard spot and that center spot, right? And no matter what, I think Ezekiel Elliott this coming season, he's going to have a lot of opportunity. I think he's going to touch the ball 400 times. I think he might even lead the league in rushing, right? But because he can't catch the ball out of the backfield, yes, there's been like a little bit of chatter. Oh, Zeke's been playing out of the slot. He's going to he's going to catch the ball 60 times this year, et cetera, et cetera. I don't believe into that. I'm not subscribing to that. If it happens, fantastic. Good for Zeke, right? But at the end of the day, I really believe that Zeke, because of his inability to catch the ball, because the Dallas Cowboys do not have him as a receiving back, they don't use him that way, his numbers, especially in half point and definitely full point PPR leagues, it suffers. That's why I have Zeke in number 4. Again, if you're drafting this weekend and you've got the number 4 pick, I would still take Zeke over a guy like Antonio Brown. Purely. It's just plain and simple. I think he is a number 4 without a doubt. I don't think anybody other than the 3 guys I've mentioned prior should be drafted before him. Anyway, let's move on. No more depression, okay? I was all sad because I'm a Cowboys fan at heart, right? Actually, I live in California. I love the Rams. The Chargers just came in last year. They're looking good. But Cowboys are my team because of that offensive line, right? Being a former offensive lineman myself, it resonates with me. We're having such a dominant up front line. I was getting a little depressed there. I'm picking up the pace now, everybody. We're picking up the pace. We're here at number 5 with Melvin Gordon. Now, a lot of people are going to call me crazy, just like having number 5 Kirk Cousins yesterday, right? Melvin Gordon, in my opinion, is going to be the number 5 running back this year. Now, you might be thinking, Andrew, you're crazy. Well, last year he was the number 5 running back, but there was a little bit of, competition that was missing. David Johnson wasn't there, right? And Alvin Kamara played out of his mind, and so did Kareem Hunt, right? I see those 2 guys dropping a little bit because, as you see, they haven't been named yet. And I see Melvin Gordon coming up, sticking around that number 5 spot, having 12 touchdowns as he did last year, having similar production. Yes, he's not going to catch the ball out of the backfield like Ezekiel Elliott. Oh, excuse me, what? Ezekiel Elliott? No, sorry. He's not going to catch the ball out of the backfield like Le'Veon Bell or David Johnson because there's Austin Eckler that always comes in on third downs here and there and steals a little bit of production. Austin Eckler, usually a third down back, was a rookie last season. I think he'll have more of a part of this offense, but I don't think it's going to hurt Melvin Gordon. I think Austin Eckler might be coming in on 2 back sets, maybe put in the slot at some times. Just depends. But I really like Melvin Gordon this year. I think with an entire healthy Offensive line for the Chargers. I think Melvin Gordon can be extremely productive. I see him being the number 5 ranked running back this year. Plain and simple. Okay, so let's move on. Right, Alvin Kamara. I've talked about Alvin Kamara so many times. I'm almost getting sick and tired of it. I almost need to the regular season needs to start. I got the itch for it. I'm sure you do too. I'm sure you don't want to hear about Alvin Kamara as much as I do. I mean, I talk about Alvin Kamara so much. It's got me just, ugh. Anyway, Alvin Kamara, right? What are the benefits of Alvin Kamara? Okay, last year he was an animal, right? 120 rushing attempts. He had 700 and something yards, right? I think it was like 728 yards. He had somewhere around 80 receptions for 800 yards. I mean, that's a 10-yard average, right? He had 8 touchdowns. And, I mean, for the opportunity that he had, he produced efficiently, right? And almost too efficiently. I think that this coming season, he's not going to be that great. Yes, he's going to have 4 games of having the backfield to himself, but I'm not sure if that's how the Saints want to run their offense, right? I think they want to use that two-headed monster look that they just, they ran into the playoffs last season. I think Alvin Kamara is going to be extremely productive because he's a playmaker at heart, right? He is not the prototype running back like Zeke who's going to run the ball down your throat, right? David Johnson, Todd Gurley. He's not going to truck people over, right? He is more of a playmaking back that's going to protect himself like Le'Veon Bell, right? He has Le'Veon Bell tendencies, in my opinion, right? The way I see this coming year, Alvin Kamara, part of a great offense, has a great line. He's going to be the number 6 ranked running back. Quote me on it. I like Alvin Kamara. All right, anyway, I don't want to talk about Kamara anymore. Let's move on to Saquon Barkley out of the University of Penn State, right? So what about Saquon? Why do I have him at number 7? A lot of people say, oh, Saquon's a top 5, top 6 running back. Why do you have him at 7? Well, I don't know if I believe in the hype, right? Yes, everyone's, he was a Heisman candidate. He balled out in college. He did special teams. He was an offensive monster. He carried his team on his back. Those are all great things, right? But coming into this Giants team, who was really just not a great team last year, whether it be coaching, whether it be the benching of Eli Manning and how poor he played, whether it be all the injuries they sustained, the Giants were not a great team last year. This coming year, I think they're going to be better because of, Odell and Evan Ingram. They've improved the offensive line a little bit, right? They went out, they grabbed the left tackle from the Patriots. They went and drafted Will Hernandez to fill up that left guard position. I still think that Saquon Barkley has an opportunity for being a really good running back this season. That's why I've got him at 7, right? He's going to be a good running back because he's going to get all the touches in this backfield. As long as he stays healthy. He's not healthy right now. His quads are bothering him a little bit. That's what happens when you only have 2% body fat. When you have all muscle, you get hurt way more often than people who got a little bit of cushion there. Just saying. That's why Des Bryant used to always get hurt because that guy was like 1% fat and 99% muscle of monster. Anyway, irrelevant. What I'm just saying about Saquon is I don't really think that he's going to, take over like everyone thinks. Sure, I can be wrong. Right? The last 2 seasons, Kareem Hunt and Ezekiel Elliott, both rookies, led the league in rushing, right? So everyone's like, oh, well, it's Saquon's turn. Maybe it's Royce Freeman's turn. Maybe Rashad Penny. Maybe Ronald Jones. Maybe it's Jordan Wilkins. We'll just have to wait and see. But that's, I'm just going to take it easy. I'm going to say that because of the offensive line, inefficiencies of the Giants, I'd rather have the 6 running backs that I named prior than Saquon Barkley. But again, he's going to have a great season this year. Going to have a great season, especially in PPR. I think he'll be a great guy to the backfield. All right, so number 8, we're going to Kareem Hunt. I thought about Kareem Hunt being a little bit higher this coming season, but all signs pointed to me having him at number 8, because there were some games last year that were extremely inflated, right? Week 1 had a 45-point game. 45 points in week 1. Why? Because He had over 100 rushing yards, had over 100 receiving yards, had 3 touchdowns. Those kind of games, that throws it on a tilt. It's a positive tilt, but it doesn't show the true picture of what exactly happened. Kareem Hunt is an extremely talented running back. He came into last season looking to be the backup, right? Spencer Ware got hurt. Kareem Hunt took over the backfield. He acted upon opportunity, right? Spencer Ware's back, and I think Spencer Ware is going to be a factor of this offense, right? Now, there's one of two ways of looking at this. Charkandrick West, who has been the third down back, give or take, for the last couple seasons. He even led the team in rushing a couple years back. Charkandrick West was cut, if I'm not mistaken, yesterday. And there's either one of two ways of reading into that. That either means that they're 100% confident that Kareem Hunt can lead this backfield by himself, or that means Spencer Ware is healthy and ready to contribute, right? Those two storylines that I'm putting together right there, one is really good for owners, one is really bad. The way I see it, I think Kareem Hunt is going to solo carry this backfield, but there is going to be a couple goal line snags from Spencer Ware. He's going to contribute here and there because this team's going to need the help of whatever they can get, because Patrick Mahomes, if he doesn't play well, they're not going to look great. So we're just going to have to wait and see. I think Kareem Hunt, all things considered, the number 8th ranked running back on my tier list. I think Kareem Hunt, as soon as you get to the, let's say, 10th, 11th pick, I'd love him there. I love Kareem Hunt there, right? Because as soon as it comes back to me in the draft, I can take perhaps one of the next two guys I'm going to talk about if they're left on the board, or you pick up a wide receiver that's, a top 5 wide receiver that's still on the board. Hopefully, like a Michael Thomas. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead. We're going to move on to the next guy, Leonard Fournette, right? The rookies last season, just wait, okay? I'll get upon that. But the rookies last season, my goodness, so good. The rookie running backs last season were so good. Leonard Fournette, I have him at my 9th ranked running back, right? Last season, having only played 13 games, he was the 8th ranked running back in fantasy half-point PPR scoring formats, right? The Jaguars' offense, it's not great, right? We know that because Blake Bortles is a little bit inconsistent, and sometimes the play calling can be questionable at times, But Leonard Fournette, in my opinion, he's the definition of a bell cow running back who's going to just catch the ball out of the backfield. He's going to run the ball up the middle, and he's going to pound the defense, right? He's a guy that last season, the coach of the Jaguars was quoted to say, if we can run the ball with Leonard Fournette 20 times in a row and not have to throw the ball with Bortles, we'll do it. So just off that mentality, I think Leonard Fournette is set to have a really good year. Let's not forget, people. This Jaguars offensive line is low-key really good. Okay? Really good. Linder at center, Norwell at left guard. They're building something. I think they have that the younger kid at right guard. My goodness. I'm going to forget his name. They're building something over there that's looking to be a little bit of a smash mouth, we're going to punish you, team, right? You have Leonard Fournette in that offensive line that's going to bruise you, right? And then obviously you'll have Blake Bortles, game manager, just please don't turn over the ball, please, 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 right? And then you'll have that defense coming in hot. That defense, the reason they get scored on so much is because they try to make a lot of plays. Let's be real, right? Defensively, they get after it. They put up a lot of fantasy points in the defensive bracket also. But they give up a lot of points because they try to make a lot of plays. But with Leonard Fournette setting the pace, I think he's going to be the number 9 running back this season. Knock on wood. I think Leonard Fournette's going to be really good, especially in the late first round. Around that, if you can get Leonard Fournette number 12 in the first round, I'm happy with that. Anyway, let's get to the last guy in our top 10. Again, I talked about it. The rookies from last season are so good. Christian McCaffrey's my number 10. Okay. Now, this is a guy where, a lot of people don't believe that Christian McCaffrey can be a top 10 running back. Well, last season, in his rookie year, he was the number 11th ranked running back in half-point PPR. If I'm not mistaken, he was even higher in full point PPR. So somebody tell me why he's not ranked in your top 5. The top 10 running backs, right? I'm just confused, right? Why am I the only one that loves Christian McCaffrey so much? Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm just not hearing it because everyone's trying to stay as low-key as possible so that they can draft Christian McCaffrey in that second round and win their leagues. I'm just saying. Anyway, Christian McCaffrey, PPR monster. We know that for a fact. We saw it in Stanford. He's come to the NFL. He transitioned well. Last season wasn't given that much opportunity, but now that he's gotten a little bit more acclimated with the offense, gained a little bit of weight, he's going to be going on all cylinders, guys. I'm telling you, Christian McCaffrey's going to be a top 10 running back this year, right? And if you're in that late, I'd say probably early second round, and he's still on that board, especially for those that are, Kareem Hunt owners, or, if you're a Leonard Fournette owner and you want to go double running back, be my guest. That is a great, tandem to have. I think because of the improvements to the offense for the Panthers, I talked about it yesterday. I have Cam Newton as my number 2 ranked quarterback this coming season for the 2018 season. I think because of there is so much talent there, right? Now you might be thinking, there's so many mouths to feed. There aren't. Cam's going to run the ball less. They're going to give the ball to McCaffrey. He's going to spread the ball offensively, throw the ball. As long as Cam Newton doesn't turn over the ball, they're fine, right? But, he'll throw his fair share. I think Christian McCaffrey's the number 10 running back this coming season. He has probably, good potential to going up. But, all of these guys, they're great running backs, right? I named 4 rookies from last season that are on this list. Alvin Kamara, Kareem Hunt, Leonard Fournette, and His Holiness Christian McCaffrey, right? Again, these are my top 10. We can review them again. I got Le'Veon Bell at the number 1 slot. I got Todd Gurley at number 2 slot. I got David Johnson at 3. At the number 4, a stat that I forgot to mention that I want to reiterate. In 10 games, because last season was the, is Zeke going to get suspended thing. In 10 games, Zeke was the number 10th ranked running back in half-point PPR leagues. Having played 10 games, he was the 10th ranked running back. Prospectively, just understand that. If Zeke has a good offensive line and he's there, he's a 20-point per week guy, plain and simple. After Zeke, I had myself Melvin Gordon, and then I followed him by putting Alvin Kamara at 6, Saquon Barkley at 7, Kareem Hunt at 8, and Leonard Fournette at 9. And again, as you can see on the screen, we have Christian McCaffrey at 10. Again, thank you everybody for watching. I want to try to get through as many of these rankings as I possibly can because, again, a lot of us are drafting this weekend. So let's go ahead and just share all the information I've got, all the advice. And anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Later.